The galaxy's most influential beings were gathered, each species represented by its finest diplomats in the grand halls of the Interstellar Council. As far as Earth's representatives could see, diverse, complex alien species filled the space, a tapestry of beings with varying cultures, languages, and histories. The air buzzed with the weight of this unique gathering, all eyes now turning toward the human delegation, a relatively new presence among these ancient powers. At that moment, the hall doors swept open, and the Empire's envoy entered with deliberate grandeur. Taller than most in the room, with scaled skin that gleamed under the Council's artificial lighting, the envoy embodied the sheer force of the Galactic Empire. His arrival commanded silence, as if his very presence demanded attention and obedience. He scanned the room briefly before his gaze locked onto the human diplomat, standing amidst the group of Earth's delegation, and a thin, menacing smile played across his lips. The envoy's voice echoed, calm yet laced with an implicit threat. The Galactic Empire has been generous in allowing Earth to join our council. We do not offer this privilege lightly. His gaze turned colder, his voice intensifying. As with all who seek protection and unity within our reach, there is a tribute required. Your planet must contribute resources, technology, and a substantial part of your population's labor force to our cause. The human diplomat, outwardly calm but tense with anger beneath the surface, took a moment before responding. His voice was steady, respectful, but each word carried a hidden strength. Thank you, envoy, for the Empire's acknowledgement of Earth. However, Earth does not submit its resources or its people as tribute. Our understanding of unity respects each planet's sovereignty and self-governance. A murmur spread across the council as representatives of various planets exchanged surprised glances. The Empire's envoy paused, as if weighing the full extent of the diplomat's words. His expression hardened as he leaned forward, his voice dropping to a dangerously low pitch. Earth is a young and fragile world. It would be wise to consider the consequences of defiance. Our empire does not take kindly to resistance, and we expect compliance from all who benefit from our protection. The human's response was unwavering, and his words sent a ripple of shock through the assembly. With all respect, the galaxy does not belong to one power alone. We came here to learn, share, and collaborate, not to be subjugated. His voice softened slightly, though his eyes remained locked on the envoys. Earth has its own values, its own freedoms, and we do not relinquish them lightly. The silence that followed was heavy, like a storm about to break. The envoy's face contorted with anger, and his fingers clenched as if barely restraining himself. He finally spoke, a barely veiled threat lacing every word. You are overstepping your bounds, human. This rebellion of yours will not be tolerated. The Empire has brought countless worlds to their knees. We could do the same to Earth with ease. The human diplomat's expression didn't waver. He simply met the envoy's gaze, unfazed by the threat. If the Empire believes strength is measured only in power over others, then perhaps it has underestimated Earth. He glanced around, addressing not just the envoy but the entire assembly. We are here as equals, not as subjects. Unity, if it means anything, is mutual respect, not domination. For a moment, the alien representatives appeared torn, glancing nervously between the human diplomat and the Empire's envoy. Many of them had never dared to openly challenge the Empire. They had grown accustomed to a hierarchy that placed the Empire at the top, unquestioned and unchallenged. Yet, something in the human's words resonated, a sense of purpose, of shared dignity that stirred thoughts they had long buried. Earth's boldness lit a quiet fire in the hearts of those who had only known submission. The Empire's envoy, however, was unrelenting. He sneered, his voice filled with disdain. Do you truly believe your words carry any weight here, human? You are one world, standing against a force that has subdued thousands. Your bravado will be your undoing. The diplomat allowed a brief pause before responding, his tone calm but piercing. Perhaps, but it will be our choice. He looked around the assembly once more, his gaze unwavering. Earth stands by its principles, as each world here once did before bowing to fear. If freedom has a price, we are prepared to pay it. The hall was silent, each delegate absorbing the exchange in their own way. The Empire's envoy's facade of control had cracked, his arrogance now mingled with a barely concealed frustration. For the first time in many generations, someone had openly refused the Empire's demands. Without another word, the envoy turned and exited the chamber, the heavy doors closing behind him with a resounding echo. The human delegation watched him leave, a silent acknowledgement that the threat was only beginning. Earth's message had been made clear, they would not yield to intimidation. In that moment, a new precedent had been set, one that challenged the very foundations of the Empire's dominance over the galaxy. The diplomat's defiance was more than just an act of resistance, it was a beacon to others, signaling a chance for change, a glimmer of hope that one small voice could stand up to the might of an empire. In the wake of the envoy's departure, the delegates remained silent, their faces a mix of awe, fear, and admiration. The council had witnessed a moment that would undoubtedly shift the balance of power within the galaxy. The human diplomat stood, his expression resolute. For Earth, and for any who would join them, the path ahead was uncertain and fraught with danger, but it was theirs to choose. The human diplomat stood quietly, his gaze steady and unyielding, facing the weight of an intergalactic order that had never before been challenged so directly. The Empire's envoy, accustomed to swift and silent submission, now regarded him with narrowed eyes, a mixture of curiosity and impatience. Most species, by this point, would have backed down or at least bargained, but the human remained unmoved. With a calm confidence, he began to speak, his tone measured but unmistakably resolute. We understand that the Empire values unity, strength, and order. Yet, these are ideals that hold true only when freely chosen. For Earth, autonomy is not just a principle but a core of who we are. We do not give our resources, nor do we offer our people as tribute. To do so would be to betray everything we stand for. His words, though spoken with diplomatic restraint, carried a defiance that could not be ignored. The envoy's response was immediate, his voice sharp. Do you believe you can defy the will of the Empire without consequence? Do you imagine that you are unique in your values, that they will shield you from the reality of galactic power? He leaned forward, his expression darkening. Many have believed as you do, only to find themselves subjugated. And those who resisted, they no longer exist to tell their story. Unfazed, the diplomat replied, his gaze unwavering. With respect, it seems that the Empire has mistaken dominance for respect and fear for loyalty. Earth has witnessed the history of oppressive empires. We understand how they rise, and how they inevitably fall. True strength lies not in forcing submission but in earning trust. The words landed with an unexpected weight, resonating with a few delegates who nodded almost imperceptibly. It was a risky assertion, but he knew the stakes were worth the gamble. The envoy's patience thinned, his calm veneer cracking as he raised his voice. You speak as if your small, primitive world holds power in this council. It does not. The Empire has spanned galaxies, brought countless worlds to heal. We do not need your trust, we need your compliance. Do not mistake the leniency we've extended as a sign of weakness. The diplomat allowed a brief pause, his demeanor steady, as though he understood the precise moment to press further. Leniency? The Council speaks of unity, yet it is unity under threat. Your so-called generosity is a thin veil for tyranny, and we are not blind to it. If the Empire's strength requires our subjugation, then perhaps it is not as strong as it claims. His words seemed to echo, striking a chord within the vast hall and catching the attention of several representatives who were unaccustomed to hearing such audacity. Frustration flickered across the envoy's face, and his tone became more biting. Your arrogance will be your downfall, human. The Empire has crushed countless civilizations for less than this insult. We are offering you the chance to join as equals, yet you squander it with reckless pride. Do you not see the Empire's influence in every corner of this galaxy? The diplomat met his gaze with a calm resolve, unbroken by the threat. And perhaps that's precisely why so many worlds remain under the Empire's shadow, because they've never had the chance to choose. Earth believes in freedom not as an act of defiance but as a principle that allows growth, strength, and true unity. A unity based on respect, not on fear. The exchange sent ripples across the assembly. For many delegates, hearing a world as young as Earth challenge the Empire was unprecedented, almost unthinkable. Some remained silent, wary of drawing the Empire's attention, but others watched with a spark of curiosity, as if reconsidering their own acceptance of the Empire's dominance. The envoy's gaze hardened, each word sharpened with intent. The Empire does not tolerate rebellion. You may think yourselves different, but you will fall like all the others who once defied us. It's a futile attempt that will end with your world in ruins and your people serving in the very ranks you now resist. Your words are nothing but empty bravado. The diplomat's face remained calm, a slight glint in his eyes as he responded. It seems you misunderstand. These are not mere words. They are a statement of our intent, of Earth's choice to stand as a partner, not a vassal. Should you impose your will on us by force, you may indeed find victory. But you will never gain loyalty, nor respect. You will not inspire, only impose. The tension in the room grew palpable as the envoy's face flushed with anger, visibly struggling to maintain his composure. Do not mistake our patience for weakness, human. The Empire has tolerated your provocations, but there are limits, even to our mercy. The diplomat replied, his voice softer but no less impactful. And there are limits to oppression, even for an empire as vast as yours. Today, you may see our defiance as foolish pride. But perhaps tomorrow, others will see it as a glimmer of something they have forgotten, a reminder that their worlds were once free. The envoy's restraint finally snapped, and his tone turned icy and resolute. Enough of this. If Earth insists on its independence, so be it. But understand this, the Empire's response will be swift, decisive, and merciless. Your defiance will be an example to others, a warning of the fate that awaits those who dare challenge us. The diplomat stood in silence for a moment, his expression unreadable. Then, he spoke quietly, with a firmness that needed no embellishment. Then let it be a warning, but let it also be a beacon. Earth will not submit. If unity must come through subjugation, then we choose to stand alone. With that final statement, the tension hung heavy in the room, as the envoy, visibly seething, turned and exited the hall. The council members watched, some with admiration, others with fear, as the weight of Earth's stand reverberated in their minds. For many, it was a moment that marked the beginning of something new, a question of loyalty, of choice, of what true unity could mean. And though the cost was yet to be seen, one thing was clear, Earth's answer to the Empire had already shifted the course of the galaxy. Back on Earth, the air was charged with urgency. Word of the Empire's threat had reached every major leader and strategist, each well aware of the magnitude of what was at stake. They had anticipated Earth's entry into galactic politics would be challenging, but no one foresaw the immediacy of such a powerful opposition. There was no mistaking the gravity of the situation. Humanity would either secure its independence or risk becoming another vassal to the Empire. Earth's leaders gathered with a single aim, to defend their world by any means necessary. In urgent, confidential meetings, military and scientific minds came together to analyze the Empire's forces. Intelligence reports from allies, data fragments, and a compilation of intercepted communications revealed insights into the Empire's immense resources and advanced weaponry. There was no question that the Empire's fleet dwarfed anything Earth had encountered, its weaponry refined through centuries of conquest and submission. Yet, amidst these seemingly insurmountable odds, they found potential weaknesses, subtle but exploitable, buried within the Empire's long-standing tactical assumptions. Humanity's strategic response began to take shape. Unlike the Empire, which relied heavily on sheer force and intimidation, Earth's strengths lay in adaptability and unconventional thinking. The generals and scientists discussed strategies that would capitalize on surprise, deception, and quick adaptability, tools of a planet that had overcome its own wars, crises, and natural threats. They envisioned a defense that did not simply aim to repel the Empire but to exploit the blind spots that power had created within its ranks. The decision was made to utilize every resource available, focusing on creating a multi-layered defense that combined terrestrial and orbital tactics. Key scientists proposed an array of specialized defense technologies that would harness Earth's unique advancements, from experimental energy shields to cloaking mechanisms capable of temporary evasion from enemy scans. These technologies, though untested in real combat, had been under theoretical development, and now, with their backs against the wall, they were Earth's best hope. Simultaneously, Earth's cyber intelligence teams intensified their efforts to infiltrate the Empire's communications network. Their objective was simple: disrupt the Empire's highly centralized chain of command, a weak spot common to hierarchical powers that relied on fear to ensure obedience. Even a slight interruption in communication could lead to delays and confusion, elements critical to Earth's survival. The approach was bold, audacious, and unconventional, an attempt to turn the Empire's might against itself. Earth's diplomatic corps also intensified efforts to contact other planets and systems within the Empire's sphere of influence. With covert channels and encrypted messages, they began reaching out to worlds that had long been under the Empire's control, planting seeds of dissent and subtly encouraging resistance. The message was clear: if Earth could resist, so could others. It was a dangerous strategy, one that risked drawing the Empire's ire even more. But Earth's leaders knew that if they were to withstand the coming storm, they could not stand alone. In homes, cities, and towns, news of the situation spread, igniting a blend of fear and determination among the populace. Earth's citizens were briefed in ways that stirred their resilience. There was no sugarcoating the truth: they faced a force capable of unimaginable destruction. But rather than give in to despair, people rallied, their resolve intensifying with each new development. The world was uniting under the banner of survival and freedom, each citizen aware that their contribution mattered. Engineers worked around the clock to fortify key infrastructure, medical teams prepared for the worst-case scenarios, civilians were trained in emergency protocols. Across the planet, there was an unwavering commitment to defend Earth's right to exist freely. Simultaneously, the leaders devised a final line of defense, a contingency plan that would only be executed if all else failed. While details were kept classified, Earth's Defense Council worked to create an arsenal of last-resort strategies that could potentially delay or even incapacitate the Empire's forces long enough to give humanity a fighting chance. Each component of the strategy was devised with careful thought, bearing in mind the planet's vulnerabilities and the Empire's strengths. There was no illusion of invincibility, only the recognition that Earth had one chance to outmaneuver its opponent. Meanwhile, as the diplomatic overtures spread beyond Earth, whispers of rebellion began to emerge from within the Empire's domain. Other worlds, oppressed and held in fear, began to watch Earth's defiance with a mixture of awe and inspiration. For the first time in generations, there was a sense of hope among them. Earth's courage was a beacon, a reminder that freedom could be fought for, that defiance could bear fruit, even in the face of overwhelming power. Each message sent, each diplomatic conversation held, was a risk, one that could potentially ignite a wave of insurrections across the Empire's territories. It was a gamble, but one that Earth was willing to take, for they knew their own survival might depend on the collective strength of many. In these final hours before the Empire's response, Earth stood at a critical juncture. Their plan was bold and unconventional, relying on every strength, every resource, and every person willing to fight. Each member of the Defense Council knew the odds were against them. The Empire had crushed civilizations far older and more advanced than Earth. But there was something within humanity that defied simple logic, something that drew from a history of resilience and innovation, born from their survival against all odds on a world that had forced them to adapt or perish. The preparations complete, Earth's leaders issued a final transmission to the Empire, a concise message that reflected the unyielding stance humanity had taken. There would be no compromise, no surrender. Earth would meet the Empire's forces with everything it had, and though they recognized the risks, they did so without fear. For them, the decision was clear. They would stand together, united, bound by a belief in the right to exist without submission. The countdown had begun, but as Earth's forces mobilized, the sense of resolve was absolute. As the signal was sent, Earth's diplomats, generals, and citizens alike steeled themselves for the coming conflict. They were not naive, they knew the path ahead would be brutal, likely devastating. But as each person took their place, there was an unspoken understanding that this was not just a battle for Earth's independence but for the ideals they held dear. For in resisting, they showed the galaxy that true strength was not measured in domination but in the courage to stand for what one believed in, even against impossible odds. The silence of space was shattered as Earth's fleet met the Empire's armada in a vast expanse beyond any known system. Both sides knew the stakes, the implications of this conflict rippling across the galaxy, as one lone world dared to defy an ancient, powerful empire. Earth's fleet, though smaller, was strategically positioned, taking advantage of the Empire's predictable formations. This was a battle unlike any Earth had faced, but it was precisely this unpredictability that had brought them to this point of direct confrontation. The Empire's armada moved forward with confidence, driven by a history of unchallenged victories. They had come expecting a quick suppression, a demonstration to remind all who watched of the futility in resisting. Their weaponry, advanced and devastating, began to target Earth's ships, projecting an overwhelming show of force. Yet, Earth's ships dodged and countered in ways the Empire had not anticipated, their movements erratic and disorienting, employing tactics that had been developed in secrecy back on Earth. Each vessel in Earth's fleet moved with purpose, striking in coordinated patterns designed to counter the Empire's straightforward tactics. It was a carefully orchestrated dance of survival against seemingly insurmountable odds. The Empire's fleet, accustomed to swift subjugation, began to encounter unexpected disruptions in their lines. Earth's forces, though fewer in number, had honed their tactics to exploit any flaw or lapse in the Empire's formation. By executing targeted attacks on the Empire's command ships, Earth's forces disrupted the coordination of the massive fleet, introducing a layer of confusion that the Empire's rigid hierarchy struggled to address. Earth's commanders capitalized on these small but pivotal openings, striking at weak points with precision. Amid the chaos, Earth deployed experimental technology, including electromagnetic pulses designed to disable enemy sensors and communications. The effect was immediate, causing a portion of the Empire's fleet to falter as their systems went dark. This technological advantage, though temporary, provided Earth's ships a critical window to maneuver, regroup, and strike from unexpected angles. As the Empire scrambled to counter these unfamiliar tactics, their leaders realized they were up against an opponent who refused to fight within the bounds of conventional warfare. The Empire's frustration mounted as Earth's forces continued to resist. Each time they adjusted their tactics, Earth's fleet adapted in kind, leveraging both ingenuity and sheer determination. Ships appeared to materialize out of nowhere, firing and retreating before the Empire could respond effectively. Earth's strategy was simple but effective: remain unpredictable, refuse a direct confrontation, and capitalize on the Empire's reliance on brute force. Earth's commanders knew they could not match the Empire in sheer numbers, but they could exhaust them, wear them down, and keep them off balance. For the first time in countless campaigns, the Empire's forces felt the strain of a drawn-out engagement. What they had expected to be a swift and decisive victory was turning into a prolonged battle that tested their endurance and adaptability. They began to realize that this confrontation was not merely a clash of forces but a conflict of ideologies, a challenge to the very foundation of the Empire's dominance. Earth's determination was unyielding, a defiance that resonated even with some of the Empire's own ranks, who found themselves questioning the purpose of this fight. Despite their resolve, Earth's fleet faced mounting casualties. Each loss was felt deeply, yet the remaining ships pressed on, driven by a resolve that far outweighed their fear of defeat. Communication among Earth's forces was direct and unwavering, each commander acutely aware that this was a battle not just for survival but for the future of their world. Every maneuver, every decision was a calculated risk aimed at preserving the chance of a lasting resistance. The Empire's forces, though heavily strained, regrouped, realizing they could not afford to underestimate Earth's resolve. They launched a renewed assault, targeting Earth's remaining command ships in an attempt to break the chain of leadership. Earth's commanders, foreseeing this tactic, shifted their formations, sacrificing certain ships to preserve the core of their strategy. The losses were painful but necessary, each ship sacrificed to sustain Earth's ability to fight another moment, to keep hope alive. As the battle raged on, the Empire began to witness a shift in perception among its own ranks. Rumors spread of Earth's courage, its refusal to submit, sparking quiet conversations among the Empire's soldiers who had grown weary of unquestioning obedience. For many, the sight of a smaller, unyielding force standing up to the galaxy's mightiest empire was a testament to the strength of conviction over sheer power. Though unspoken, a subtle admiration for Earth's defiance began to seep into the hearts of some within the Empire's ranks. Earth's forces continued to exploit every advantage, even as their numbers dwindled. They employed tactics designed to stretch the battle, to drain the Empire's resources and test their patience. Every skirmish, every moment of resistance, served as a reminder that Earth would not be easily subdued. The Empire's commanders, recognizing the tenacity of their adversary, began to question the cost of victory. For the first time, they were faced with the reality that domination would not bring the submission they had come to expect. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Earth's forces launched a concentrated assault on a critical sector of the Empire's fleet. It was a desperate maneuver, executed with every ounce of remaining strength. The Empire's ships, caught off guard, struggled to contain the intensity of Earth's final offensive. The confrontation reached a fevered pitch, the galaxy's attention fully captured by the spectacle of one small world standing against an ancient power. The Empire's armada, though weakened, held its ground, but not without recognizing the cost Earth had exacted. Both sides now understood that this battle was far from over. Earth had shown the galaxy that courage and ingenuity could stand against overwhelming power, that even the smallest voice could demand to be heard. Though Earth's fleet was battered and reduced, their message was undeniable: they would not submit, and they would not yield. The Empire, for all its might, had been challenged in a way it had not faced in generations. In the wake of the battle, the galaxy would remember Earth's stand. For some, it was a beacon of hope; for others, a symbol of resistance. But for the Empire, it was a reminder that not all battles were won through sheer force alone. Earth's resilience had marked a turning point, and though the war was far from over, the outcome of this confrontation had already begun to reshape the galaxy's understanding of power and defiance. The Empire, weakened and taken aback by Earth's unyielding stand, retreated from the confrontation, regrouping in a bid to restore its shaken image of invincibility. Yet the damage had already been done. Across the galaxy, whispers of Earth's defiance spread, inspiring those who had long lived under the shadow of the Empire. The stories of the battle became a rallying cry for other planets and civilizations, many of whom had quietly harbored a wish for freedom but never dared act upon it. Recognizing an opportunity, the human diplomat, now a symbol of hope, sent a message to the Council. His words did not gloat over Earth's resilience but instead called upon the galaxy to recognize a simple truth: true unity could not be achieved through oppression. He spoke of a shared vision for a galaxy where cooperation replaced domination and where the voices of every world could be heard equally. The Empire's iron grip, once seen as unbreakable, now appeared vulnerable, and Earth's stance had shifted the dialogue from one of submission to one of partnership. A momentous decision followed. Representatives from worlds subjugated by the Empire began to voice support for Earth's message, tentatively at first but growing stronger as others joined in. The council meetings, once dominated by the Empire's decrees, began to echo with calls for change. For many, Earth's resistance had reignited a long-buried hope, a belief that even the most powerful could be challenged and that freedom was a possibility. These voices, though hesitant at first, gained momentum, each one fueling the resolve of the next, creating a ripple effect that even the Empire could not ignore. The Empire's leaders, aware of the crumbling control within their ranks, attempted to reassert dominance, issuing public threats and reminders of their past victories. Yet their words rang hollow, diluted by the fresh memory of their confrontation with Earth. Their threats, once effective, now seemed desperate, a reflection of an empire struggling to hold on to a power it had long taken for granted. Even some within the Empire's own administration began to question the course of action, sensing the shift in sentiment throughout the galaxy. The human diplomat continued to press for a peaceful resolution, extending a hand not only to those oppressed but even to factions within the empire itself who saw the value in diplomacy over conflict. He proposed an alternative vision for the Council, a collective of independent planets working together for mutual benefit, a model that promised stability without sacrificing autonomy. This idea, radical yet resonant, began to gain traction among delegates who had long grown tired of the Empire's authoritarian rule. Meanwhile, across the Empire's territories, the seeds of rebellion took root. On planets that had endured generations of control, once suppressed movements of resistance reignited, drawing inspiration from Earth's courage. Leaders who had once submitted out of fear now found strength in solidarity, each quietly strategizing ways to weaken the Empire's hold from within. The galaxy, which had once moved to the Empire's rhythm, now began to pulse with a new energy, one that resisted being defined by a single power. The tipping point came when a prominent Empire-controlled planet openly declared its support for Earth's vision, an act that rippled across the galaxy. In that moment, the Council chamber transformed from a place of order imposed by fear to one of renewed purpose and open discourse. The Empire's representatives, faced with this unprecedented shift, were forced to reckon with the possibility of a galaxy no longer under their exclusive control. Their response, rather than violent, became calculated. They knew that outright conflict would only strengthen the growing alliance against them. The human diplomat's role evolved from a mere representative of Earth to a facilitator of a larger movement. He emphasized the importance of rebuilding relationships based on trust, equality, and shared goals. The concept of tribute, once the foundation of the Empire's strength, was openly rejected as a relic of a past era, incompatible with the galaxy's new vision. Worlds that had once stood alone now recognized the power of unity, not under an empire's mandate but as a choice, forged in the crucible of resistance and hope. Gradually, a new structure emerged within the Council, a federation of planets, each retaining sovereignty yet pledging mutual respect and defense. The Empire, though still powerful, was now a participant rather than a ruler, forced to adapt to a galaxy where its authority was no longer absolute. For many, it was a bittersweet shift. They had known no other reality than the Empire's rule. Yet, this new chapter held a promise that resonated with all, a shared understanding that true peace required both strength and compassion. Earth's diplomat, reflecting on the journey, addressed the Council one final time. He spoke not of victory or conquest but of the resilience that had brought them together, emphasizing that the true strength of a civilization lay not in its power over others but in its commitment to principles that uplifted everyone. His words captured the essence of what the galaxy had learned through its struggle, a profound respect for each other's differences, balanced by a recognition of shared values that bound them all. In the aftermath, the galaxy saw a transformation. Trade flourished between worlds that had once been competitors, scientific collaboration reached new heights, and cultural exchanges enriched civilizations across vast distances. The Council, once a place of submission, had become a beacon of diplomacy and innovation, driven not by mandates but by mutual choice. The Empire, though changed, found its place in this new order, an influential member of a collective rather than an enforcer of unquestioned rule. As Earth resumed its place among the stars, the lessons of its defiance echoed through generations. Their stand had not only secured their own freedom but had reshaped the destiny of countless worlds, sparking a movement that redefined the galaxy's understanding of unity. Where once there had been fear, there was now respect. Where once there had been domination, there was collaboration. In this new era, Earth's legacy remained as a reminder to all that the pursuit of freedom was a journey worth the highest cost, and that even the smallest voice could inspire a revolution. The galaxy moved forward, forever altered, carrying with it the values that Earth had embodied, values that proved that true power was the ability to inspire, to build, and to create a future shared by all.